Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I really hope that you enjoyed the first part of our exercise and that you are ready to get into part 2. So in today's video we are going to be taking off quantities for our foundations and our superstructure. The big chunk of our work we already did in our collect, so all that we are going to be doing today is transferring our dimensions from our collects to our foundations and superstructure. Okay, so first things first, as you can see at your right, we have a specification that is our concrete and foundations will be made up of 15 MPa / 19 millimeter stone. This is basically the strength of our concrete. And then our brickwork, that is all our brickwork for our 270 cavity wall and for our 220 wall. It's going to be selected stock bricks, okay, and then in 1:4 cement mortar in stretcher bond. Now we need to obviously include these descriptions in our various items, okay, and then our DPC has been specified as 375 micron DPC, and then we also have filling in our cavity wall, which is going to be made up of 10 MPa / 12 millimeter stone concrete. All right, that is obviously going to be unreinforced concrete. Okay, all right, let's start with our first description. I'll be making a lot of reference to our standard system in today's lesson. I'll be using the standard system of measuring building work, the 7th edition. The standard system basically acts as guide to quantity surveyors and lays down the general principles and items to be measured, as well as the units in which those items are to be measured. It allows tenderers to tender on the same basis and on the same system. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the standard system is obtainable from the ASAQS. But yeah, I'll just put a link down in the description section so that you can check it out. Great. Now the first item that we are going to start with is excavations. Okay. I just want us to quickly go to our collects, all right, and then go to the excavation section. How that is to be measured and so forth can be found on page 11. Clause 5 of our standard system. Then when you read subclause 11, it says excavations shall be described to be in the type of material that is the least difficult to excavate. Now, in cases where your excavations exceed 2 meters, you would have to obviously separate them into successive depths of 2 meters. We'll probably do a separate exercise where we will apply that measurement rule, and the unit of measurement for our excavations is cubic meters. So yeah, already we know that the dimensions that we should have in our dimension column should be 3 dimensions, which makes up our volume. And then the descriptions for excavations shall be deemed to include setting aside excavated material within 100 meters from the perimeter, etc., etc. But this we will easily understand when we obviously start with our descriptions. Okay, all right, let us start. All right, so we have excavate for surface trenches in pickable material. Now pickable material basically means material that can be removed by means of a pick and shovel. So yeah, it's in pickable material. If you have not been given the type of material you are working with, I guess just assume. So in our case, we are going to assume that it's in pickable material, and then not exceeding 2 meters deep, and set aside for backfill or carting away elsewhere measured. Or carting away that we will be measuring elsewhere. When we get to where we're measuring it, I will further explain what I mean. All right. And just basically means including. Okay, means including. Text, backfilling, 2 trenches and holes with excavated material. So I know that someone might be saying, okay, so we are excavating for surface trenches and then we are backfilling again. What is it exactly that we're trying to achieve? Look, you can really do measuring in any way as long as it actually makes sense to you and you're actually putting down the correct dimensions and the correct descriptions. Okay, the reason why I'm doing this is so that I make it very easy for us to be able to get our various dimensions. Let me just briefly explain. So yeah, let's go to our sections. So what my description basically says is that excavate all of this, all right, and then it says backfill it again, all right. But in our following descriptions, when we get to concrete, okay, I'm going to basically say concrete, blah blah blah, 15 MPa, 19mm stone, and deduct backfilling. So that's when I'll be making those adjustments there for our backfilling. All right, I hope I haven't lost you. I hope I'm not confusing you, but you will see as we move forward in our exercise. All right, so let's go to our collect to gather our dimensions for our excavations. So that's the first one there. Let us just do that so that we know which items we are working on. Okay, right, so we have excavate footings, size 700 by 700 millimeters deep, 38.90. So when we get to our foundations, the first dimension that we put there is 38.90, which is our mean perimeter. All right, and then the width or the breadth of our footing is 700 millimeters. So we have what? 0.70. And then the depth of our excavation is what? 0.70. And then for ease of working, and also so that we know what we have measured and what we haven't measured, I would just like us to reference this entire section there as D. Okay, we are referencing it as D. Now the following dimensions that we're going to put down are for our 220 millimeter wall. So we have 6.14. We go back to foundations. 6.14. I'm sorry, by 620, 700. Remember, the breadth of our footing is 620, and then the depth of our excavation is 700. So 6.14, 0.62, and then the last dimension that we're going to put down there is 0.70. Underline that, and then we're going to reference that as H. Okay, now we get to our concrete. Okay, let's just do that quickly. Okay, so we have, oh sorry, before we get to concrete, we have this item here: keep excavations free from water. Okay, that is found on page 13, clause 11 in our standard system. Okay, in our standard system, clause 11. Great, keep. And the unit of measure there is item. Right, so put that down there as item. Great. Now you'll see that this follows the sequence in which you actually construct a building. The first thing that you do is you excavate, right? And then the second thing that you do is you pour in your concrete. So that is what we are going to do here. Concrete, we were told here that it's 15 MPa/19 millimeter stone in footings. Cast where? Cast against excavated surfaces or excavated faces. Okay, Great. Great. And then I did mention that we are going to now be making adjustments basically. So it's going to be and, put that in the center, and deduct that backfilling there. So, but for the portion of the concrete. All right, deduct backfilling, deduct backfilling to trenches and holes. All right, deduct backfilling to trenches and holes. And okay, so what are we going to do now with that material? Extra over excavations for carting away surplus excavated material to a site selected by the contractor. All right, I hope that I haven't lost you and that we are still on the same page. Okay, I'll just do a recap of what we've done. So what we are saying is that we are measuring concrete 15 MPa, and we are going to deduct that backfilling that we made there. And what we are going to now do with that, with the material, with the excavated material, is that it's going to be cut away. All right, let's just go back here. What we have done, remember that we measured backfilling, right? Now what we have done is that we said concrete 15 MPa / 19mm stone, cast in excavated faces, and then we have deducted the backfilling here. They have the same dimension, yeah, and then we have cut away that material there. Okay, so let's come there. Sorry for the back and forth, but there's no other way that I can actually do this. Let's use a different color. I like color. It's just I don't know, but I like using color. So yeah, there we go. So it's gonna be 38.90, 38.90, and then we know that the breadth of our footing is 0.70, and then we know that the depth is 0.30. It's yeah, 0.30. Now that is for our C, and that one's going to be for G. Okay, that's for our C. Okay, C. And then for our for the 220mm brick wall, we have 6.14 by 0.62 by 0.30, and that is G. Okay, great. So we are just basically done with our concrete. Okay, the third thing that we are going to measure is our brickwork. Okay, so we were told that it's a cavity wall. We were told that it's in 1:4 cement mortar, in selected, so the type is selected stock bricks, and then we were told the type of bond it is to be in it's stretcher bond, filled, solid with unreinforced concrete, right? Concrete, 10 MPa / 20mm stone. Was it 12? I think the specification we were given there is 12. So 12mm stone in foundations. We'll go to our collects. 270mm in foundations, there it is. Okay, there it is. It's 39.33 by 0.75. Okay, 39.33 by 0.75, and then we are done with the foundations. Let's just do that. Okay, and then our brickwork now for the 220mm wall. We have 220mm wall in 1:4 centimeter. Sorry, cement mortar in selected stock bricks in stretcher bond. This one will not have filled solid with cavity because it is a solid wall. Alright, it's not a hollow wall like our cavity wall. So it's in stretcher bond. Okay. Yes, I like perfecting stuff. So forgive me. Okay, let's go to our collects. We have it there, 6.57 by 835. 6.57 by 0.84. Okay, 835. Yeah. We're done with this item here, and then yeah. So what we are going to now do? Oh, sorry. Let's reference this. That is B, and then the other one is F. So the one is B, the other one is F. So that is B, and then this is F. Okay. So now we need to deduct for the backfilling that is in our brick walls. All right. That was taken by the brick wall. Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna put down the 39.33, okay, by 0.27, and then our brickwork just below natural ground level is going to be 700 minus 300, which is 400. Okay, so that will be 0.40, and then for our 220mm, okay, let's reference that as B. Our 220mm is going to be 6.57 by 0.22 by 0.4 because they're the same. Now, there are two reasons why, or there's one reason why we did not measure this backfilling under or together with our walls. It is simply because backfilling is measured in cubic meters, whereas our walls are measured in square meters. And another thing, the dimensions are obviously not the same. Yeah, the dimensions are not the same, so we couldn't measure them under the same item like we did with our concrete when we did our backfilling. Alright, so we're going to reference that as F, and we are done with our foundations. Alright, I just realized that I forgot to measure our risk of collapse. Following the sequence in which construction is done, I was supposed to have placed it after excavations, but it's fine, it's okay. This is not the final dose of quantities, so yeah, it's okay. So we're just going to go risk of collapse to sides of trenches and holes not exceeding 1.5 meters deep. It's not exceeding 1.5 meters deep because our excavation depth is 700 millimeters. If it was exceeding 1.5 meters, then we would say exceeding 1.5 meters. Okay, so we're going to put 38.90 by 0.70, and then we're going to multiply all of that by 2, and then we have 6.14 by 0.70, and then we multiply that as well by 2. That's it. Now moving on to our superstructure. We don't have a lot of work here, so we'll be done in just a minute. Okay, so we have 270 millimeter cavity wall in 1:5 cement mortar in selected stock brick in stretcher bond in superstructure. Okay, text. Alright, let's just go to our collects. The dimensions for that are going to be 3933 by 2.95. Okay, 39.33 by 2.95, and then we are done with that. Perfect. Now we move on to our 220 millimeter wall. You would say ditto, but we're not going to say ditto because that's our description has cavity wall, and our 220 millimeter wall is not a cavity wall. So 220 millimeter wall in 1:5 cement mortar in selected stock bricks in superstructure, and that is going to be text. Let's just do that. Okay. Okay. In superstructure, and that is going to be 6.57 by 2.87. Let's just do our DPC there. Okay. So they specified it as 375 micron. Micron DPC on walls. Okay, we're gonna just refer to that as E, and then that one there as A. Okay, great. Now our DPC basically goes on our walls, so it's in line with our walls. Right. So it's basically going to be 39.33 by 0.32, and I will just explain now how I got to the 0.32, or let me just put the dimensions down and then I will explain afterwards. So we have 110 plus 110. If we have this side over here and we have that side over there, we can use the Pythagoras theorem to determine what our unknown is. That means our formula would obviously be this. That's what it is. Okay, let's just move it to here. Okay, yeah, then it will be 85. Right, let's just do that. And then that would be equal to 98.62. Great. Yeah, so that is how we get our answer. So it ends up being 110 plus 110 plus 98.62. We have 6.57, that is for the other wall, and that one is straightforward. It's 0.22. It is not a stepped DPC. Straightforward. I refer to that as A. Okay. Now the next and last thing that we're going to measure is our splayed mortar fillet. Yeah, splayed mortar fillet, 1 course high in 50 millimeter cavity wall. Okay. Great. So our standard system tells us that our our splayed mortar fillet is measured in It's measured in meters. All right. So there we go, in meters, and then voila, we're done. We're done. Done, and dusted. Yeah.